The Self-Made Life podcast is a podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. I'm here to inspire small, local, and creative businesses along their journey to success. I'll share behind-the-scenes look at what it's like to run and scale a business, branding tips, and I'll also be chatting with other entrepreneurs to share their stories and what it's like to be self-made. All right. Well, welcome back to the Self-Made Life podcast. I'm Ashley Wyatt, your host, and today I am doing something a little bit different, and I have Becca Guy here to chat with us. So before we get started, we are going to do a little throwback, which is boss or bust. So if you have been listening to the podcast for a while, you know that we like to do a little boss or bust when we interview someone and when we had Megan and Sydney on as the host. So Becca, what is your boss or bust for the week? And let me just give a little disclaimer here. This is just, share something that you're proud of or something that might not have gone planned this week, just to give us a little insight.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. So I'm going to go with boss because as somebody who a lot of my life spent the time in the negatives, let's go with boss today. And celebrating the fact that I started a Facebook group, which is something that I a couple of weeks ago when I was doing my New Year reflection journaling, it kind of came up that I wanted to create a community of kind of like-minded people going through their own self-discovery journeys and just wanting support and guidance. So last week I set it up, the Missing Piece community, and that is my boss.
Oh, love it. And a way to start on a positive note. I think you've kind of inspired me, so I'm going to share a boss as well. I was going to do a bust, but no, let's do boss. So I just had 2 or 3 discovery calls today for upcoming brand projects, and I don't know, I just get so giddy and excited to start these projects and kind of envisioning where they're going. So yeah, super excited for those.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, good. Go you. That's really cool to get a few in, especially with a new project.
Yeah, thanks. All right. So let's talk a little bit about you. So tell us who you are, what you do, and yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Well, thank you very much for having me on the show. I'm Becca, and as you can tell, I'm not Canadian, and I don't actually live in Canada either. I'm coming from the north of England, and I am a self-awareness coach, and I'm just looking to get my one-on-one coaching launched really quite soon. But to kind of talk a little bit about more about how I've got here, I guess, I always think of seeing it like the way I've got to this place in my life as being an undoing but a rebuilding of myself at the same time. And, rather than going all the way back to when I was in the womb, because I'm sure all our stories can start there and we'll skip over them details. But when I left school, I went to university to study linguistics and phonetics. And this isn't necessarily something that I felt passionate about, but I went to a grammar school and they very much pushed humanities and sciences, and I actually had been studying art, and I felt I also felt a calling to work with animals. So 2 very different things, but I felt this pressure to go to university as though that was the right thing to do, and that's how you become successful. That's what I felt at the time. So there I go, off to university, and about 1.5 years in, I was like, this is not what I want to do. So I started with Googling animal volunteering opportunities, different roles there, and I actually left university and I came back home and I started volunteering with animals, and I got a job which I have been in and out of, finally finishing last November for about 11 years.
Oh, wow.
And it was working as a kennel hand at the police dog section. And, it was beautiful to work with all these dogs and the people there. And, it was an amazing experience, but it was not what I wanted to do. So going back to when I started this job, I'd just come back from doing some work experience with animals abroad in Greece and in Qatar, where my dad was working at the time. And I had been in the job for a few years, and I decided, right, well, I'm going to study dog behavior now. So I went off to university to study dog behavior, well, online. And after a couple of years of that, I was like, this isn't quite for me. And then I stopped that. And at this point, I started to associate myself as being a bit of a quitter and somebody who just didn't really know what they wanted to do. And I kind of made a vow. I look back and I realized I did this. I maybe didn't realize at the time, but I made this vow that I was not going to take another course until I was 100% sure what I wanted to do, which is just ridiculous, but it's how I felt at the time. And so for about a period of the 10 years I was there, which is mainly through my 20s, it was kind of marked by a couple of years of staying there and being a bit bored and unfulfilled and ending up with this real control over my life. And a lot of it stemmed around my body, and it stemmed around controlling my weight, controlling the fitness that I engaged in. And I took control of everything. Everything had to fit around my food and fitness schedule. And I wouldn't allow love in my life. I didn't have a partner for, 7-8 years, which, there's nothing wrong with being single, but mine was from the wrong place. It was from a place of not being able to allow anyone in my life. And so this kind of was what was going on. But then every sort of like couple of years when I was at the kennels, I was like, I'm just unfulfilled. I want to do something else. I'm purposeless. And so I did that, obviously the dog degree, and then that one didn't pan out. And then a couple of years later, I went traveling around Southeast Asia. I took a break for 6 months and went solo around Southeast Asia. And I put a lot of pressure on that being, I guess, the moment when I was going to work out what I wanted to do with my life. Because, people go traveling and they come back and they're like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. And that didn't happen for me. A couple of years later, I did a similar thing, and I actually left my job at that point and I went and worked in France for a few months, which ended abruptly, and that's a story in itself. But I bought a bike in France, and gosh, it sounds a bit like a midlife crisis when I talk about it. But I bought a bike in France, and I cycled from France all the way up to the north of Scotland, so like 3,000-4,000 miles, just solo over 4 months, and it was an incredible experience. And but at the end of that, I was still like, I just don't know what I want to do. And I went and ended up working in Scotland for a few months in a hotel on a remote island, which was a beautiful experience again. And at this point, going back to my control, my binge eating was getting really out of control at this point. So I've been binge eating for about 7-8 years, and I was really struggling with it. And I was just done with it. I tried loads of things, but nothing was really stopping it. And it wasn't until I discovered intuitive eating and discovered this anti-diet approach to healing our relationship with food and fitness. So I started this, and this is when I moved back home and I met my boyfriend, who I'm still with now. And at that point in my life, I'd been independent for 7-8 years, and then I was inviting a partner into my life and his 2 children as well. And I had to break down this issue of control by having 3 more people in my life. And it's not been easy, but I eventually got through the binge eating, and underneath the binge eating, there was anxiety. So that's been the journey of the past few years as well. And so I started leaning into self-development, personal growth, this kind of stuff. And I began on this journey of healing. And along this way, I started to build my self-worth. I started to, just realize that I could do more with my life. And I was still a bit obsessed with the idea of finding a purpose, but through the stuff I was reading, the podcasts I was listening to, I was realizing that doesn't have to be the case. You just, you can start anywhere and just see where you end up, and you can be multi-passionate. And so this is the moment when I thought, right, well, I really want to help people heal their relationship with food. And this is, I'd never had my business before. At any point in my life, I never thought I could do this. But I found Marley, who is the coach I work with now, and she's helped me explore my whole journey there. So I started being an anti-diet coach. This is how I originally was going to kind of launch. And then, I still feel so passionate about that. But a few months ago, I realized that the stuff I was wanting to post was more, I was having to fit it around food. And what I really wanted to talk about was the deeper healing, and the talk about, we have to heal the layers underneath it in order to heal the food, heal our relationship with our bodies, or heal anything. We have to get deeper than that and really connect to ourselves. And that was all through my own journey. So I sort of thought, I really want to post about this stuff, but no, I'm not pivoting before I've even launched. That just would be stupid. And, I had all this doubt and like, what would people think of me? And then I had a conversation with her, and she kind of like, we're halfway through it, and she was like, you just seem a bit frustrated. Is there something going on? Like, what's coming up? And then, so we had a big talk about this, and eventually we got to the bottom of it all, which was that what I really wanted to do was to sort of help people heal their relationship with themselves, come back to themselves, reconnect with themselves, so they can find this inner peace, this freedom and fulfillment, which is what helped me heal and heal food and fitness. So it was wider than, or deeper than, I guess, going anti-diet. So I took the pivot. So that was about 6 weeks ago. And I feel so much more aligned. And like I said, I love the kind of anti-diet side of things as well. And I can obviously still help people with this. But I realized that my path is more to help this kind of deeper healing. And so that's, I guess, where I'm at now. I'm soon to be launching. So that's me.
Wow, that's amazing. What a story. And yeah, I noticed that you had changed your podcast name. I was like, wait a minute, is this Becca? And yeah, no, I love that. And it's kind of like, you had to lose yourself in order to find yourself again. And I think that's so beautiful that, you want to help others do the same.
Yeah, thank you. And that's exactly it. I think you do. You have to kind of, it's like losing the layers that you've put on yourself or have been built up by what you've learned. You have to get deeper than that. And that's where you connect to your values and you connect to what you're really passionate about and what you really, I guess, want to do with your life. And that's how you this is your journey. This is part of the journey, the undoing.
Yeah. Breaking down that hard shell. No, lovely.
Definitely.
So, I know we talk a lot about, mindset and, setting yourself up for success. And of course, we're working with the same coach, Marley. And I wanted to ask you, what is, like, do you have a morning routine and what does that look like?
Yes, I love this question because I absolutely love morning routines and I love evening routines as well. But my morning routine, I probably started a morning routine properly like 7-8 months ago, so not that long ago. And so it originally started off being kind of rigid. I would first thing first, I'll always walk our dog Bomber because that's part of the package, and I love doing it anyways.
He's so cute.
Thank you. Yeah, he's really good. He's dog aggressive, which makes it a bit difficult walking him sometimes, but like he's really manageable. But it's when a dog comes running over and everyone else is like, but it's okay, my dog's friendly, and I'm like, mine isn't. So it's that actually leads on to the other part of my morning routine, which I've established more recently, which is after I've walked him, I actually usually go for a walk by myself, and it's a time in which I either listen to a podcast or I have a bit of a mindful moment. I go and walk to this really little woods, kind of a collection of trees really near me. We're in the outskirts of a town, and I go there and I just kind of like, I just be there and I just ground down. But like I said, sometimes I listen to a podcast. And then I come back, I have breakfast, and I meditate, which usually is probably only like 10 minutes or so. I pull an angel card every day as well for myself as my guidance for the day. And I journal. I'm really passionate about journaling. And I have a cold shower. So they're like my staples of the morning. But more recently, I realized that I want to kind of create a bit more of a natural flow. So I'm less rigid with it, in that sometimes the walk might be yoga, or I might meditate longer or meditate at a different time of the day. And I just kind of lean into how I feel. But yeah, no phone time as well. And yeah, this is massive. It's just, honestly, I just think it's one of the best things you can do for yourself and your self-care.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I just did an episode on this on my morning routine. So if you are just tuning into this episode, you can definitely go back one and check out that episode. And yeah, I find that when I don't do a morning routine, my whole day is off and my whole week, comes undone. And I mean, now here in Canada, it is so cold. Like today is minus 15. And I miss walking. I, would go for a walk every day, and miss that. So I'm kind of like leaning into the colder months, and instead of walking, doing more like cycling or yoga, gentler practice. But yeah, I wish my dog would walk. My dog hates walking. So maybe you can help me out with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Is it a little sausage dog, is he?
Yeah, he's a sausage dog. I don't know, I feel like he's like afraid of the leash, but he literally just freezes and just like won't walk.
Yeah, my boyfriend actually, him and his ex-partner, they've got a dachshund and they've got a beagle, and so we often get them to look after as well. And it's amazing the differences in personalities in them, but they can be little stubborn dogs, can't they?
Yeah.
Oh, bless. Yeah, no, absolutely happy to help. We can talk about that afterwards.
Sounds good. All right. So I know that your journey has, spanned over, the last decade or so. But if you could go back in time and give your 18-year-old self like one piece of advice, what would that be?
So my one piece of advice would be to learn to listen to and trust yourself, because you have everything you need within you. And this is to everyone listening, because you really do. You don't need anyone else to tell you what to do. You innately know what it is that's right for you. And it's just learning to come back to yourself time and time again. So yeah, this is the one thing I would tell my 18-year-old self. Whether I would have listened or not, I don't know. But yeah, absolutely. It is about having everything within you, learning to trust yourself and your intuition. It's massive.
That's amazing. And I totally agree with that. I'm actually reading this book right now. It's called How to Do the Work. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it, but I've not read it. Is it good?
It's good. It's by Dr. Natalie LaPera, and she is the holistic psychologist on Instagram. She has like this whole kind of community. She's a psychologist from New York. And I literally
That's
just
so
finished.
Weird. Sorry to like butt in, but I was just about to listen to a podcast with her on this morning.
No
and I didn't in the end because I was like, I just needed to like have a little moment to myself. But yeah, I started listening to it, and yeah, that's really weird.
Oh wow, I feel like that's a sign. Maybe you need to read that book after. But yeah, I'm reading it right now, and we just finished talking, or she started just finished talking about intuition. And it's so funny because intuitively, when we are little, we have this intuition as babies. We cry when we're upset, we eat when we're hungry, we stop eating when we're not hungry, and we have this intuition built in. But it's like over time, our social conditioning that suppresses that intuition. So I think it's really important to, nurture that intuition in all aspects, like, call it woo-woo or whatever, but my intuition has never led me wrong, especially when it comes to business. Even when you have a call with a potential client, and deep down inside, you're like, well, I don't feel like they would be the right fit, but maybe I should give it a chance. And then you work with them and they're like a nightmare. I literally just had this happen to me like a few months ago. And yeah, no, I love that advice. So anyone listening out there, trust your intuition. It will not lead you wrong.
No, absolutely. And that's really great that you shared that, because it never leads us wrong. It might not lead us in the way that we necessarily want from an ego perspective, but it will never lead us wrong. And yeah, like you said, then you kind of had that little nudge, but then your brain went, no, but I'll give it a try. And it's usually that first one that happens before the fear kicks in. And it's hard. It's something we have to learn to it's that whole idea of like flexing a muscle, isn't it? We have to learn how to use it. But it's just so beautiful when you learn to connect to yourself.
Yeah, totally. Love that. Okay, so this next question is also a piece of advice. So I know that you're kind of just like starting out, but what would be like one piece of advice if you could give someone who was maybe looking to start out, or just like really in like the starting phases of their journey?
Yeah, absolutely. I really love this, because this is something that people would say to me all the time, and maybe like someone else might hear this and they'll be like, yeah, whatever. But honestly, just start. You have to start because you've no idea where that journey's going to go. Don't try and make it perfect. Like, I mean, I did not think I was going to pivot 6 weeks ago without even launching. Like, you couldn't really plan that, but you have to start the journey to know where it's going to take you. So that would be my biggest takeaway. If you feel, really passionate about something, if you want to pursue something, there's something that feels, a real calling to you, just start, and then you'll correct the course along the way, and just focus on your whys and not the hows, and you'll be fine. Just focus on why you're doing it and do it and see where you end up. Just start.
I love that. Yeah, oftentimes, just start before you're ready. Like, I started before I was ready. And the beautiful part of entrepreneurship is you're writing your own story. So you can really rewrite it however way you want, however many times you need. So yeah, I love that. Okay, so I mean, as entrepreneurs, we're wearing a lot of hats. So let's kind of talk about productivity. And do you have any productivity hacks that you want to share with us?
Yeah, so I have one which might sound a bit backwards or counterintuitive, but hear me out.
Okay.
So I think it's so important for you to take regular pauses throughout the day, pauses where you would just, like, maybe it's just a minute, maybe it's longer than that, but you just check in with yourself and you connect to yourself, you connect to your breath, you just like feel how you're feeling, how do I feel? I'm okay, like, even if you're not okay, it's like, I'm safe, just kind of talking to yourself and just taking that time to pause and have a little break. If you can do longer, of course, go for it, but take these regular pauses, because you have to slow down to speed up, and then you'll come back to things and you'll have way more energy than you ever thought, and you'll have a higher productivity. So even though you're taking a little break, you actually just give yourself that energy to be more productive. And I still fall for this every time. I don't do it, well, not every time, but I don't always do this, but every time I do it, I'm like, just do that every single time. Just take that moment to listen to yourself, and then all of a sudden everything just becomes a lot more clear. So yeah, absolutely, slow down to speed up.
Wow, I love that. And you know what? I'm actually going to take that advice, because I feel like I'm doing a lot of things right now. And I think that's so beautiful. And just like, taking a moment to pause. I think a lot of us, especially entrepreneurs, career driven females, this whole like hustle culture needs to just stop. Okay. Like,
Yes.
And I think a lot of us are really coming into that alignment in 2022. Is just, we've gone through this pandemic for a couple years. It's really put our priorities into perspective, and yeah, like, we need to fill our own cup first. And even if that's, taking a short pause, taking a day off of work, or, taking the weekends or evenings to ourselves. So, and then we just come back more and more refreshed.
Absolutely. Like, it's so powerful. And I know it's really hard to do, like you said, in the culture that we live in, but like, everybody just give it a try. It doesn't even matter if you're not an entrepreneur, you don't have your own business. Just try it in your daily life and see how different you feel.
I love that. Okay, I need to take a little break and just share one of our favorite tools, which is HoneyBook. So HoneyBook is our CRM system, and we really can't live without it. We have been using it for the past almost 4 years, and it's been like life-changing in our business. So from leads that kind of filter through our website form, it kind of populates into a new project for us, and seamlessly we can send proposals, we can schedule calls, we can send over invoices, contracts, brochures. And what I love most about it is it's just so easy on the client end, and we are able to get paid quickly and efficiently. And we're able to keep everything together in one easy and simple to use spot. So if you are looking for a client management system, I highly recommend HoneyBook. It has been a total game changer in our business, and I have no doubt that it'll be a total game changer for you too. So if you want to use our exclusive 50% off your first year, you can head over to our website, themonarchdesign.co/resources, and click get 50% off HoneyBook and start like utilizing your time better. This thing has literally changed our lives, and I wouldn't be sharing it if I wasn't like raving about it. So definitely give it a try. Let me know what you think. I also wanted to mention they have a setup concierge. So in I think your first like week or so, you're able to work with someone directly in HoneyBook, and they're able to set up everything for you. They're able to set up your contract, all your files, all your services, your pricing, so that literally when you go to send a proposal or invoice, it is so simple. You can also work with workflows, so you can schedule emails, you can put together workflows so that, like, let's say you are working with a wedding client and, you know, you want to send them a questionnaire or timeline schedule for like 2 weeks before their event. You can definitely send that and put together a workflow so that you're kind of working smarter, not harder. So HoneyBook has done more than just save me time. It helps me to get paid quicker and also look really professional when working with my clients. You know, it's easy for them to get the proposal, get the contract, sign the document, and I'm able to get paid quickly and efficiently. So check out HoneyBook and go over to our website, themonarchdesign.co/resources, and click on the link, get 50% off HoneyBook today. Okay, so we are going to get into a little rapid fire of this or that. I love this, and I haven't done this in so long, so this is a little bit of a throwback as well. So I'm going to say 2 different things, and you're going to just like answer on the spot which one you prefer. Are you ready, Becca?
Yeah, go for it. I'm ready.
Okay. City or country?
Country.
Knew that one.
Obvious.
Mountains or beach?
Mountains.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Coffee or tea?
Tea, always.
Me too. Burger or pizza?
Pizza.
Call or text?
I'm not answering as quickly, am I? Text.
You made it. Awesome. Okay. Was that fun?
The answers come to you, isn't it? I was like, apart from that last one, I was like, I bet I'm not going to know. But then you do.
Oh, yeah. It's your intuition, right?
Absolutely. Practice what you preach.
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much for joining us today. I loved chatting and hearing your story and, you know, just really giving our listeners something to just really take back after this. And I also wanted to say, like, beep. I lost my train of thought. I was going to say something. Now I don't even remember. Should do
it's
like...
always at the end, isn't it? When we're like, oh no, I've now lost my train of thought.
Yeah, okay. So now I'm just going to say, like, where are our listeners going to... Can our listeners find you online? And then you can, like, plug your details.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Beep. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us today for this episode. It was so great to chat and just like hear more about your journey and just really give our listeners these actionable steps in their journey and advice. But I want to leave our listeners with something as well. So tell us, where can our listeners find you online and how can they work with you?
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Ashley. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. And for anyone listening, you can find me on Instagram at Becca Rose Guy. And I've also, like I said at the beginning, just launched a Facebook group, which is called the Missing Piece Community, the same name as the podcast, which is the Missing Piece Podcast.
So piece as like...
Peace, dude. Yeah, I was about to do the same. No one can see this. This is a podcast, but we're doing the peace sign to each other. but yeah. So the Missing Piece Community, if you're kind of looking for other like-minded people going on their own self-discovery journey, and I wanted to do an offer for anybody who is listening to this podcast. So for the first 3 people that get in touch with me on Instagram at Becca Rose Guy, I will give you 2 free coaching calls, and this will be like one which I'm going to give some action plans, and then the next one where we can do a bit of a follow-up. So yeah, just send me a message, send me a DM, and first 3 people will get them 2 calls.
Awesome. Well, that's awesome. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm just so excited to have our first international guest on the podcast. If you, definitely give her podcast a listen. I just find your voice and your accent so captivating and easy and calming to listen to. So go check out her podcast. Thanks, Becca.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ashley. It's been amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.